Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game S. So, during a fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening because there is a brand new Sega Lindbergh arcade emulator out there, currently working on Linux as well as Windows through some translation layers, and hopefully soon once people test it, the Steam Deck. If I sound slightly different today, that is because I brought my microphone away for the holiday, and I told you I was not going to work unless something absolutely amazing happened, and honestly, a new Lindbergh arcade emulator running some of the best Sega games of all time 100% qualifies for me as something that I had to talk about before I got back from my holiday break. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. Honestly, this is just some of the most amazing arcade preservation I've probably seen coming out of 2024, and you can find this on GitHub. I will leave the link in the description below. It's a Sega Lindbergh emulator, but it's called Lindbergh Loader, and again, this is based on Linux because that is what the arcade hardware was based on. This is the PC in a box era generation for Sega, and it definitely had some of the best games out there, and again, it's going to be a little bit of a high-test setup, but I'm sure it'll get streamlined momentarily. And playing something like Virtua Fighter 5, the final edition that was released in arcades on Lindbergh Loader, it just feels absolutely flawless. And the best part is this is absolutely a $0 entry as far as the actual cost is concerned. This isn't like Technoparrot where you have to be a Patreon member to be able to play some of the releases. This is going to be 100% free from start to finish. You bring the game files and Lindbergh Loader is going to do the rest. And the best part is it isn't just standard arcade games. You're going to get light gun games and pretty much anything else that the Lindbergh Loader, and you're going to be able to set the controls any way you want, which is going to be absolutely awesome because you have arcade racing games, you have fighting games, as well as light gun games. You'll see here the supported game list is absolutely massive, including titles like 2 Spice, which I definitely think are definitely some hidden gems here. You'll see stuff like Hummer and Hummer Extreme. Everyone knows what those are, but 2 Spice is just one of those arcade games. You had to play it in the arcade to really understand how it worked and how the control scheme works. But over here on Lindbergh Loader, it works 100% totally fine, and that's going to be the most fun you're going to have as far as an arcade emulator is concerned in December of 2024. It really feels like one more Christmas gift to Sega fans, and we've already been eating pretty well this year, if you know what I mean. And if you do hear any noise in the audio, I am just holding my microphone in my hand. It's not on a shock mount like normal, so just a heads up on that, because again, this was exciting enough news where I actually wanted to take my microphone out of my bag of the holiday season. I brought it with me just in case, and this was the one video that made me actually take it out and sit down and do a little bit more work. And if you've never played 2 Spicy before, I can't recommend it enough. It's an absolute hidden gem as far as Sega is concerned. But there's so many other games you're going to see here that you can play. Virtua Fighter 5 being one of the best, House of the Dead EX 4 and 4 Special also being compatible. There is a metric crap ton of fun to be had here. But Final Showdown on Virtua Fighter is probably my favorite release of the game, maybe even slightly more so than the recent re-release on Steam as far as Revo is concerned, and it's one of those titles you had to have a Patreon subscription for the longest time on the Technoparrot side of things to actually be able to play and enjoy. It's just such a spectacular game, such an amazing entry in Sega's overall arcade output, and now with Lindbergh Loader, it's something that you can just sit down and enjoy. And I'm sure that things are going to get pivoted maybe over to a more Windows streamlined process in the future, and I will definitely do a video on that, but this is basically some brand new stuff right here, and because Lindbergh was based on a Linux system, that is obviously the first stop over, and I know people are going to start testing this on Steam Deck, and when I get home to my office, I'm definitely going to check that out as well. I'll be back maybe by the time you watch this video. And moving on to something like House of the Dead 4, the arcade version of this game is just my favorite, and even though it exists on PlayStation 3 with Move support, being able to play with something like Gun for IR absolutely matters. And big thanks to the moderator of my Discord, the Cool Puff, for sending over some of these captures as well. He's been helping me out over the holiday season because of course we all get busy, but I wanted to still bring you some of the best retro gaming news around, and honestly, Lindbergh Loader, 100% one of my favorite things to see as far as 2024 is concerned, and arcade preservation, because these games are incredible, and even though the House of the Dead 4 did get ported home, so many of these titles never left the arcades, and they're definitely something that you want to play and want to enjoy. And now with the Lindbergh Loader and the Sega Lindbergh emulator, you're going to be able to do that however you want, and it is going to be just such a great experience. Having tested this in the background, I wasn't able to crash, freeze, or otherwise have a problem with any single game, and this sounds honestly outstanding as well. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds. I'll come back talking more about the software, where you can grab it, and why it matters. But enjoy because it's good. Soundtrack's great, the sound effects are great, and the overall voice acting is absolutely horrendous, just like it was in the arcade release, but that was definitely intentional on Sega's part. They wanted to keep that House of the Dead cheese alive, and it 100% comes across here. And you will see there is a mouse cursor on the screen. You can hide that as well as far as the software is concerned, and as far as your PC is concerned, but I wanted to leave it up just so you understand how these games are working. The mouse cursor, whether you're on Gun for IR, Sinden, or anything else, so long as it works with something like Linux, you will just be using this as a mouse. Then moving over to an arcade racing game, and one that I just recently featured on the channel, Sega Race TV. This is absolutely a deep cut hidden gem. If you've never played it and you missed my last video, I can't recommend it enough. And I would say now with Lindbergh Loader, this is working even better than Techno Parrot, because this is a game that had the tendency to crash every once in a while, and at least on the reports I've gotten and in some of the testing I've done in the background, I have not been able to get Sega Race TV to crash whatsoever. And that is the great thing about this new emulator. The stability here is just something that I haven't seen this good for a very long time. Honestly, not being able to crash a single game, even trying to screw around and do stupid things, means that you're just going to be able to sit down and have a ton of fun. And trust me when I say something like Sega Race TV is absolutely one of the best reasons for something like this new Lindbergh emulator. Sega released so many games back in the day to arcades that were absolutely incredible and didn't get ported home. And I'd say for the majority of the Lindbergh library, you have titles that never actually saw home release and can be a little bit tricky to play. And again, I understand not everyone's wanting to actually run a Linux virtual machine on Windows right now. It is a little bit heavier of a test thing to do, but for those people out there that want to do it, it's going to be very possible. And I'm sure once this thing gets running on Steam Deck, because that is Linux based, people are going to have a lot more fun with it. And cool pup, I never knew that shortcut existed, so thank you for showing it to me here in this capture. And this is why I love the arcade preservation scene and the emulation scene. They keep games alive and improve upon them that would basically become extinct if these things didn't happen. Because when's the last time you saw a Sega Race TV cabinet? Honestly, it might be one of those type of games that you've never actually seen in your life in arcades, maybe only on this channel or a few other YouTube channels that love Sega arcade racing as much as I do. And that is why these things are just so fundamentally important for the overall retro gaming preservation scene. That means all of the Lindbergh games in 10, 15, 20, 25 years are going to be 100% playable, and you can enjoy them wherever you go. And honestly, any piece of hardware that has Rambo on it is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Sega makes amazing arcade light gun games, and while I'm sure the House of the Dead 4 is the best game on Lindbergh, the Rambo game, which is absolutely straight up over the top ridiculous action in all of the best ways possible, and it is a title I can't recommend enough. Don't go straight to the House of the Dead 4 to get your light gun action fix in. Stop over to the Rambo game, because it basically just adheres to the plot of the movie while making things up as it goes along. It has voice lines from Sylvester Stallone, and it's just one of those games. Every single time I decide to play it, I have an absolute blast with it, and you heard it here. Give this game some time, give it a play session, you're going to absolutely love it. And I would give you a little bit of the soundtrack sample here with some of those voice lines from Sylvester Stallone, but honestly every once in a while they throw up a few copyright flag exceptions, so I'm going to go with a Virtua Fighter 5 sound sample as well. So go ahead and listen this time for like 40 seconds and hear how good the audio sounds coming out of this new Sega Lindbergh arcade emulator, and I'll come back and tell you why you want to play it and where you can find it. Ready?
Mission accomplished.
I mean, honestly, how can you possibly complain about the soundtrack of Virtua Fighter 5? It's some of Sega's best music of all time, and here coming out of the new Sega Lindbergh emulator, it just sounds absolutely spectacular. And if games are in surround sound and your system supports that, you're going to get that. If they were in stereo, you get that as well. And there's going to be different notes on the GitHub pages as far as what games are going to have what features involved. but honestly, this is a Christmas gift to Sega fans. How could you not want a new Sega Lindbergh arcade emulator out there, one that's absolutely free and charges absolutely nothing to enjoy it, because you know one of the biggest things I advocate for on this channel is the free ability for people to play video games. And if you heard my dog bark in the other room, it is vacation time, it is Christmas, and I'm not going to cut it out this time because it's the end of the video and I'm just going to go take her for a walk. But definitely pick this one up. The GitHub link is in the description below. Enjoy it this holiday season, and I'll talk to you guys in 2025 because I don't want to change anything else. Bye-bye.